If you didn't know, I'm what you call a breatharian. I can sustain myself entirely on oxygen. I don't eat, I don't sleep, and all I do to sustain my life force is breathe. If you haven't already read a book titled Divine Human Consciousness by Hilton Holtemer, I suggest you read that, because within the pages of that book it explains how a breatharian is very sensitive to pollution and contaminated oxygen, and that if a breatharian is to accidentally consume those toxins, that they'll die. That's why many breatharians, such as myself, prefer to live in nature, within the forest. And if we were to venture out into society, we would probably die. So unfortunately for me, I have to actually go into human civilization. I have to go into the city because part of my parole condition is that I appear before a magistrate's court every 28 days. This would be a challenge for most breatharians, because if they entered into human civilization and breathed in polluted air, they would simply die. However, I've been able to achieve something that no other breatharian has been able to achieve in the history of breathing, and that achievement is a full body breath and the ability to breathe completely from my anal cavity. I don't need to breathe through my nose and through my mouth, and I can in fact breathe entirely from my anus. And this is something that many breatharians have tried and have failed, and I believe I'm the first to achieve this. 100% anaerobic respiration through the rectal cavity. So, as I get closer into society, I'll begin the transition. I'll transition from I'll transition from breathing through the nose and through the mouth, and I'll transition to breathing entirely from my anus. Now, there are some side effects that happen from anal breathing. One of those is painful bowels. My bowels begin to become inflamed, and it's very painful. So after 4 or 5 days of completely breathing from the anus, the bowels become extremely inflamed, and a lot of pain comes with that. Take a look at this beautiful bamboo forest. The second thing, which happens quite quickly and continues to get worse over time, is the breath. The breath becomes so putrid and so revolting that it can kill things. It's toxic. I don't know quite why that is. I think some of the fumes from the bowels start to move upwards through the trachea and then probably exit through the mouth cavity. So if you've ever smelt the dung of somebody who's on a 12-day fast, it's absolutely putrid, and my breath begins to smell like that. So my breath begins to smell like the dung, the feces of somebody who is on a 2-week fast. Very, very putrid. So I want to get into town and out of town as quickly as I can. I want to be breathing 100% from my anus, and I want to be out of there ASAP so I can begin breathing normally again. But as I said, this is a huge achievement, not only for the breatharian community, but for humanity as a whole. And I do mean as a whole, because I'm breathing out of my anus hole.
And so our journey begins. Breath, our favourite jungle schizoid, sets off on foot embarking on an epic journey. Breath must face his fears and conquer thick and treacherous jungles. He also must face the great heights of mountains, and he must face the running rivers and rapids. Mother Nature won't be the only challenge Breath has to face, as these jungles are home to many hunters, local and indigenous. So, as day begins to turn to night and darkness blankets this jungle canopy, let's check in with our favorite jungle schizoid, Breath.